name is Catherine Rule. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to finally reupholster my office chair. I have dyed the fabric and made the pattern, and today is the day that I'm going to cut it out, sew it up, and actually reupholster the chair. So I am so excited to get started. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. It does wonders for my video. And I'm excited to get started.
So in part one, I took apart the chair and I re-glued the new foam onto the seat of the chair. I have all my pieces here laid out together, and the next step is to sew together the outer fabric for the chair.
So basically there are two parts of the chair that are covered with upholstery. The first part is the back of this chair, and it's going to be like a sleeve that slips over. And the second part is the chair itself, the seat of the chair. So I'm going to make two parts today, cut them out and sew them together, and then upholster them onto the separate pieces.
So I have all these pieces cut out. This is the top, and it has interfacing and the Shibori outside fabric, and then also some batting. So there's quite a few layers on that part. The rest is pretty simple. There's the seat and then the back. So next step is to sew them together. I'm starting with the headrest part of the back, and it has two pieces of the Shibori shell, two pieces of interfacing, and I cut out 3 pieces of the batting. I'm going to put 2 pieces of batting on the front where I'm going to have my neck resting against it, and 1 piece in the back. So I'm just going to get them together and sandwich the batting in between the interfacing and the shell of the chair. I'm pinning it together carefully, and then I'm going to trim it to make sure it all lines up nice and tidy. It's pretty thick, so it's going to take some time to sew it, and I just want to be careful to keep it as tidy as possible. So this is the headrest part, and on the front of the headrest, I'm doing 2 layers of the batting and then 1 layer of interfacing, and then on the back, just 1 layer of batting and the interfacing. So I'm going to baste them now on the sewing machine to get them all together. So I'm just going to baste it with a large basting stitch and go all the way around both pieces. You can see here I have sewn them all together just to keep it together, and the next step is going to be to trim and make some bias tape. I'm making bias tape here with a bias tape tool. It's one of my favorite tools for sewing, and I cut strips of the same fabric at about 3/4 of an inch, and I just ran them through the tool. So then I'm going to bind the edges of these headrests with this bias tape. You can use any kind of bias tape. You don't have to make your own if you don't want to, but I had extra fabric, so I thought it'd be a cute detail. All the layers and then the bias tape itself are all pretty thick, so I just went really slow and made sure to trim it as best as I could to get it all to fit. So you can see here I finally got it all together and pinned up, and I'm going to sew it together next. I saved the extra couple inches of bias tape to finish the rounded corners that are on the bottom part of the back cover. These are going to be little holes to expose the metal frame. So I need those to be finished off. And this is easier because it's much thinner. So after I got the bias tape onto the headrest, I'm going to attach it to the bottom of this back of the chair. And I'm going to pin it on the right side just to make sure it's straight. And also I'm going to measure a piece of Velcro to put on the inside. When I took it apart, there was Velcro to keep the two sides together. It's not visible, so it's more dysfunctional, but I thought I would use a neon because I love neon with Shibori. I think it's so cute. So then I'm just going to pin it on the inside and sew it all together at once. So I have sewn the headrest part onto the lower part of the back, and it was just getting to be extremely messy with all the straight stitching. So I went ahead and zigzagged it, and it's not really what I wanted to do, but it looks better this way, so I'm happier with it. And it's a really thick fabric, so it's kind of hard to make it nice and tidy with all the bias tape. And then here is the Velcro on the inside. It's also very tricky to get it in there after I sewed it together, but it's just sort of for function and no one's gonna see it, so I'm fine with that. The next step is to put the zipper onto the bottom of the chair. So I have put both sides of the zipper in, and I actually just used a zigzag stitch to, it's not very clean, but it's not gonna fray, so that's good. And I need to tack it at the top still, but it's looking really good. I think it looks nice from the side that people are gonna see. And this is going at the bottom of the chair, so no one's really gonna see it. It's more functional. Okay, so I've put the side seams in, and now I'm going to sew up the top. So it's very thick. I'm gonna go really slow and used a lot of pins, and then it's going to be ready to put over the top of the wire frame. So that's really exciting. Okay, I'm so excited because I've finished the part for the back, and I'm going to turn it right side out and put it over the frame. This is the moment of truth. So when I turned it inside out, I made sure that I had clipped the corners because the corners of the top are pretty bulky with all those layers. And I am putting it onto the frame, and it should be very tight. I ended up actually tightening this again, but you want it as tight as it can be because you're going to be sitting against it. So this is the seat. I've already sewed this first seam here, and I have top stitched it, and now I am putting the side pieces on, so it's a sort of a rounded corner. I'm going to sew them both on, and then I can put them onto the foam. So I have glued the foam down to the wooden base, you can see there, and I put extra padding on the sides just to kind of beef it up. There's a slit in here, and the reason for that is for this metal bar. I need to sew this onto the
center of the seam in the seat cover, and then it will go through the slit and come through holes in the bottom to secure it, as well as staples. So the next step is to sew that to the center of the seat cover.
I measured that the holes are 5 inches from the edges of the wooden bottom of the chair, so I'm marking 5 inches on that seam so I can make sure that the bar is going to match up with the holes.
All right, so after a lot of wrestling with this, I got the piece inside the slit of foam, and I got the threads through these tiny holes. So they are just going to be stapled down, and then the next step is to just pull the fabric and staple it along each edge. So that is going to be quite the process.
So finally I get to use my staple gun, which is the most fun part, and I am going to tie knots to make sure that these strings don't come out of the staples so that the bar stays very close to the wooden piece. And then I finally get to start stapling the fabric to the wood. Once I started stapling, I realized why I had to take out so many staples at the beginning, because you just need a lot of staples, and sometimes you even have to go back and staple more. But it's probably the most fun part of this whole project. So in part 1, there was a non-woven piece that was the cover for the bottom of the chair. I ended up using a piece of burlap that I had, and I just cut it out and zigzagged the edges to cover up the raw edges of the Shibori fabric and to kind of make it look a little bit more presentable. So I just stapled all the way around and marked the holes for the screws. So the next step was to put all the hardware back on, which is so exciting. I cleaned it and started to put it all together. This piece is put together with an Allen wrench, which is super annoying, but eventually I got all of the pieces on, and I was grateful that I had saved them all and taken pictures of what it looked like before.
All right, it's getting there. Very exciting. Now I just have to put the back on. I'm loving it.
Putting the back on was definitely a two-person job. So I was really excited when I got it all together, and I thought I was done and I was ready to test it out.
I've been using my chair, and I noticed that the back was starting to stretch out, and I didn't want it to stretch out too much, and it wasn't giving me the back support that I wanted. So I've decided to tie these strings around it. They're made out of Shibori. They're actually like pieces that I was using for the masks that I ended up not using. And I've started to tie them around the back, and I'm gonna work my way up a little higher. And I might even weave something in between them. I think that would be kind of cool looking. I want to find the right like yarn or thread, or use like multiple pieces of maybe like colors or natural colors. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna do yet, but I think it even looks kind of cute like that. I might trim these a little more and put like some clear nail polish or fray check on them or something. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on the chair. But it's very comfortable other than that, and other than the back. And with this thing, it's like really, really supportive. So I'm happy with it.
So, like with a lot of projects, I'm back to the drawing board, and I'm just going to continue to tie the strings around it, going as tight as I can using square knots, which are very strong, and just working my way up the chair. So I worked my way up the entire back of the chair and used up almost all of my pieces of Shibori string. And I was testing it as I went, and it seemed a lot more comfortable. So, I mean, I sit in this chair all day, and I want it to be as comfortable as it can be. So I'm going to give it one final test. It's feeling good, and I think I like where this is going. So I've decided to weave these with a sort of like a kitchen twine that I have. I use this twine for Shibori all the time, and I just think it looks a little sloppy this way. I like the way it supports my back, and I like the blue colors. So I'm just gonna weave it, and I'm liking the way it looks. I think it kind of looks like a Kantha stitched quilt, very like handcrafted and cool. So I'm gonna keep going. So once I decided I liked what I was doing, I decided to just go for it, and I just put on some Netflix and started weaving. I wanted it to have kind of like a hand woven look, which it obviously does, and I wanted it to look sort of cool and handmade, not like, you know, a boring office chair. That's my whole goal with this project, and I think it turned out really cute. Okay, guys, it's actually done, and I think it turned out really cute. I'm very proud of it. Took forever. I hope it doesn't fall apart. And but I've been using it every day, and it's really awesome. So it's not for the faint of heart, upholstery, but it's definitely a lot of fun, and you can really do whatever you want. So I'd highly recommend trying this.